Bertrand Sobesto and Kevin Shivers. Bertrand Sobesto is the Senior IT Security Engineer for the University of Maryland College Park Division of Information Technology. He implements and manages the IT security systems, including the next-generation firewalls protecting the campus network, and he oversees a dark net of more than 1,800 public IP addresses hosting the high and low interaction honeypots used by the University of Maryland Division of IT Security team and researchers. Also at the University of Maryland College Park, Kevin Shivers is the Assistant Director of IT, where he runs the IT security operations for the university. Kevin has over 15 years of experience in the information security field, dealing with everything from intrusion detection and incident response to log management, vulnerability assessment, and penetration testing. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Bertrand Sylvester and Kevin Shivers.
So as mentioned, Kevin Shivers, Assistant Director IT Security at University of Maryland. I'm currently responsible for leading the IT security operations. So I run our SOC. If anybody wants to move to sunny College Park, Maryland, we're hiring. Come grab me afterwards and we'll have a conversation. I also run a security consulting team where we work with departmental IT contacts to help secure their systems. Started out as an intern at Maryland way too long ago. Was a security analyst, then an engineer, an architect, manager, and now assistant director. Also spent a gap year, left for about a year to go work at SourceFire. Thought it was going to be my dream job. Turned out, no, I think I like Maryland a little better. And fun fact about me, I'm not a big fan of the word cybersecurity. So that's a day job. Night job is I'm an adjunct professor in the Office of Advanced Engineering in our Clark School of Engineering. A little humble brag, I was recently announced as their Outstanding Teacher of the Year for this past academic year. I teach I've taught 3 different classes. My main one is information security tools. I also am developing and about to start teaching a class on cloud security in the fall, and I've also previously taught a digital forensics class that they offer. I'll hand it over to Bertrand.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Bertrand Sylvester. So my day job is a Senior IT Security Engineer at the Division of Information Technology, so the central IT for the University of Maryland. And I'm basically responsible for implementing and managing the security systems, like next-generation firewalls or host-based IDS for the cloud environment. And basically, to give you an idea, I'm building the tools to make security operation folks, to make their life easier. I was a graduate assistant at the University of Maryland. I started to work with IT security 7 years. And after the end of my graduate assistantship, they said, no, you don't go anywhere. You stay with us, and became an engineer. But in my office, on my meeting room, future ex-meeting room, meeting table, I have a no button. And actually, it's not because I say no. Well, I do say no. But it's mostly also for people to come in my office and rant about something that happened and say, smash the no button, and the thing does, no! And it's basically, no, you didn't do that, but you did it. And, well, my real day job actually dealing with, people dealing with IPS, next generation firewalls, etc. And you impact basically all campus traffic, etc. You have days like this, a lot of these days, where you have to deal with IPS issues, which in the end, most of the time turns out not to be IPS issues, but, too late, you spend the day doing that. But yeah, that's my victory when it's not the IPS. Thank you. So my night jobs. I'm instructor for the Advanced Cybersecurity Experience for Students program. I'll talk a little bit about it a little bit after. I'm teaching, and I taught a bunch of class for this program, but I'm mostly teaching a class nowadays which is called Code Project in Cybersecurity, but I will detail that after. I support and manage their virtual lab platform where basically these students studying cybersecurity actually get to play, to have their playground, virtual playground, where they have an interface where they can actually build networks, put virtual machines, etc. They can attack each other, etc. And all that within the sandbox of a machine. So I manage that. And I also support cybersecurity research, working with 2-3 researchers on campus. I provide data, make sure that there's nothing sensitive in that. I help them in their research, and they help us in what we do. They kind of provide like new ways to detect bad things going on our network. So that's how we work. We give them something, they give us something. So that's why I'm data cruncher and anonymizer, so I remove all sensitive stuff. Okay, so ACES, Advanced Cybersecurity Education for Students, it's an honors college program, one of the 7 that we have on campus. It's been created since 2013, and there's 2 components in it. There's it's a living and learning program for basically freshmen and sophomore. And also, junior and senior can actually join that program to actually get the ACES minor. The program, one of its characteristics is to be multidisciplinary. It's not necessarily technical. It can go like from psychology of cybersecurity, policy, and then more technical things like incident response, communication, and reverse engineering, etc. So it's really, they're trying to look at different domains and not necessarily focus on one thing. They have strong relationship with corporate world, getting money probably, but also getting like instructors and also mentorship for students. The same with research and to actually have more graduate students. They graduate undergrad, and then we can actually retain some of them in graduate studies and doing research. So to give you an idea of the different classes that are being offered under the umbrella of ACES, Foundation in Cybersecurity 1 and 2, Unix, and Group Project in Cybersecurity, these are the core courses that you're going to have in the minor, but also in the Living and Learning program when they are freshmen. But the other classes are more or less seminars, and they will actually be able to select not necessarily the technical ones like digital forensic, but they really can go like cyber psychology or looking at the economics aspect of cybersecurity. It's not necessarily saying that cybersecurity is a technical thing, so we're going to teach you only technical things. No, it's not that. There's other things that happen in the cybersecurity world, and this program is trying to go over these different aspects. And it's multidisciplinary. It's open to all students. You can't really see, well, actually it's visible. We have, so about 120 students in the Learning and Living program. So they live together. They are put together in a specific, residence hall. They study together. They have a lot of their classes together. And they actually teach each other. I mean, it's really, they built a community, and they really try to, well, learn more technical things if they want to, or they go look at some other aspect of cybersecurity. And we have students coming from different majors, like computer science, electrical and computer engineering, for example. But I had students in my class coming from criminology. We probably going to have psychology as well. I know that we'll have a lot of students coming from the information school as well, which they are not specifically technical people. And the same for actually the minor, where we have a little bit less students, and they come from all over the place. So that's the class actually I'm teaching. I'm teaching X202, and X200 is actually the one for the Living and Learning program. It's one of the core courses of the minor and the Living and Learning program. And in this class, the students actually build their own honeypot system. And really, the idea is to show them, well, this is what's going on out there. We give it a research spin, where we really want them to come up with a research question and to build an experiment to actually answer the research question and do the data analysis. Of course, they get a little bit of lecture, even though it's a project class. And we cover honeypot concepts, well, of course, the research approach, because, well, some of them are just getting out of high school, computer networks, Unix, and statistics. So everything that they need, actually, for this class is provided. The problem is that when you get students coming from different majors, well, you get with these kind of problems where you ask, are you familiar with Unix or like share scripting? And then you get the answer sometimes like, yes, as of 1 hour ago. And you're like, wow, okay. So how do you keep these students engaged? Because the program wants like to be cross-discipline. It's like we don't focus only on technique. The solution for us was, for this class at least, is like group projects. You put the students together, but when you actually create the groups, you actually look at mixing different backgrounds. You try to get to know a little bit the students, to see the different majors, what's your major, okay, what are your interests, etc. And because we have small classes, we can actually customize the project and the content, and then maintain and also have the student like work together and actually have this project being done during the semester. And we encourage like self-learning. We also encourage we want to make sure also that the students contribute. And basically we don't want to be in that situation where you can see that often is that you have one guy or one person doing 99% of the project, one has never heard about the topic. I mean, we want to avoid that. We really want to have the student engaged from A to Z. We want really them to actually work together and teach each other as well. And the other way I do that as well in the class is giving assignments along the project to make sure that actually key aspects of the project are covered by everyone and that they all know what they're doing. Turn it over to you, Kevin.
So as mentioned before, I teach over in the Office of Advanced Engineering. It's a professional master's program. That's depending on what ranking you use, they're somewhere in the top 25. They have about 20 programs, and they offer things in person, remote hosted at sites across the state of Maryland, as well as online. So in 2012, they added the Masters of Cybersecurity. So far, we have about 67 graduates. Program started off small and has had a huge rise in the last couple years. So we have about 150 students for the fall. That number might actually go up too, because there's some students that'll take a semester off or still trying to decide what to do. But the program's been growing rapidly, and it's a mix of working professionals and recent graduates. The department says it's about 50-50 between in-state, people getting their master's while they're working, and then 50% international who are here just to get their degree. I'd say it's probably closer to about 70% international. At least that seems to be the way that the program's trending, and they're having a lot of success. Kind of example of that is so in the security tools class, it's been offered 5 times now. The first time in 2013, 7 students. And then you can see now for the most recent semester, I had 83. So, a huge growth in the number of students, which has been interesting to scale up assignments. Going from grading 7 people's homework to 83 is quite a, I used to have a life. So just kind of example of how our content by week, I've split it up. So the first half of the course is focusing on more defensive things. So do network analysis tools, TCP dump, Wireshark. Then we'll get into firewalls, do exercises with IP tables, do some kind of host-based WAF with the mod security, get into intrusion detection, and I'll do incident response tools and log analysis, and then follow up on, or kind of finish that section of the course with system hardening, so focusing on kind of standardized builds and Puppet, Chef, tools like that, as well as user awareness. Then we get into the offensive stuff, which seems to be, I guess, the fun stuff that all the students, everyone seems to want to be a pen tester. No one wants to do the defensive side, so we do vulnerability assessment, spend a fair amount of time on pen testing, then I make them suffer through Python scripting, talk about cloud, and then kind of wrap it all up at the end of the semester. So what students have liked and what I found has worked for this program, and they've been trying to expand this out to the other classes. Our students are really big on the hands-on exercises. This is a professional master's program. It's teaching them for, it's that applied stuff that they're going to do when they get out into the workforce, or if they're already in the workforce. This is something that hopefully they can use to take them to the next level. So they're really, really big on wanting hands-on exercises. So that's been very popular. Assignments that lead the certifications or something to put on a resume has been really huge for them. They like the real-world examples, when I go kind of ad-lib verbatim about, one time we were working in the SOC when this happened. So they like that kind of tales from the SOC real-world example. I also take some time to go over how to write a resume and a cover letter that are actually decent. And usually that's just because I'm in the middle of hiring and I just see some of the world's most atrocious resumes out there, and I'm like, please don't ever do this. So they like that. Also, just kind of, I feel like there's a high burnout rate in IT and IT security. People just get, way overwhelmed. So I have to, teach students of, take some time, take care of yourself, have some hobbies and interests, take some time to shut down, unwind. Like, at least at University of Maryland, they give us a lot of vacation time. Like, use it, go somewhere, do something. You got to take care of yourself. Students do love guest speakers. They like that real-world work experience. They seem like hands-on exercises and speakers that aren't me, so I try to pretend that's not, they want me to talk less. But they seem to like having someone that's not me tell them the same thing. And also asking students for feedback. That seems to be a real problem, at least at Maryland. When I was an undergrad eons ago, there was this blue ribbon panel that was trying to figure out why student graduation rates in 4 years was below some certain threshold, and so they had this blue ribbon panel with all kinds of distinguished faculty and administrators, not a single student on that panel. And they didn't even send out a survey. My marketing professor at the time was talking about this, and he said, I already have tenure, I don't care what your feedback for the course eval is, just write to me why it's so hard to graduate in 4 years. And they actually gave that to that panel, and they were like, oh wow, we should ask students for feedback, maybe that's a good idea. So I've been incorporating that, asking them for feedback of, hey, what works, what doesn't work, and kind of been in this continuously honing of these classes to get them to where I think is kind of an ideal. Students, what they don't like, they're always, never a fan of homework. Deal with it. Students really are not a fan of scripting and coding. I keep trying to explain how useful that is. If I can take 2 hours and write a script that automates something that saves me 4 hours a week, every week, like that's worth doing. And also they're, again, not a fan of theory. Again, they want that applied, hands-on. So I try to give that to them. So some sample assignments from that class. One, install pfSense on a VM. We'll create some firewall rules to allow and block traffic to and from VMs on the other side of that virtual firewall. Complete a Splunk training class from Splunk.com. I bolded that because far and away that is the most popular assignment I give, and the feedback I get is they love that because that's something they can put on a resume. So to me, I just thought that was very interesting. I mean, I thought they would come at me if like, you're making me go do some other work over here and like you're just grading the, yes, you did it. Like, yeah, like I'm trying to make grading for me easy, but also a lot of work for you, but they really like that. We'll do kind of a hands-on lab. I'll give them a vulnerable virtual machine. They'll run Nessus scan against it, find some options to exploit that, have them use Metasploit to exploit it, create a new username, do some other stuff to kind of show, hey, they got on the box and what they did post-exploitation. Also, we'll have them extract a custom piece of malware that I wrote that was sent over in a packet capture. They'll extract that out, analyze it using various tools, and kind of write a report of what that malware did. Midterm, the old style of midterm was as you can see, a tiny little diagram of a mom and pop waffle stand that had a popular Uber-esque mobile app to order waffles online. That was a horribly designed network, so I had them work on how do you secure this. It was okay, and it mostly showed me that we need to be a lot better about teaching technical writing, and also just kind of even just some basic writing skills at times. I'll get to that more in a little bit. So focusing on changing that around to, I'm actually going to give them a situation of here's a an archive of log files from the network, from hosts, as well as a image from a system that we believe has been compromised. Analyze the image and give me a report of what you think happened. Final project's the one they all love. I'll give them a couple virtual machines. They're in scope for a penetration test, and they have to find 6-7 flags on it and write a report of how they got in, what they did. So some examples of that, they'll do SQL injection to dump stuff out of certain tables, so that's a flag. Getting onto a box, cracking the credentials and one of the accounts on there, will again help them find another flag. Have them do a phishing exercise, so they have to phish the CEO of this fictitious company, as well as they'll have to kind of do some deciphering of some PHP code to find another flag. So they seem to like, again, the hands-on part for the most part, but again, once it gets to scripting, they get very, very angry with me. So some areas for improvement I'm seeing from this program. The program is hard at embracing the 2-for-1. I had a lot of student feedback saying, like, I don't want your class to be a training for getting a certification, but if you aligned your content with something that helped me study, so for example, cloud security class, I've aligned that with the certified cloud security practitioner or professional exam. So the content roughly aligns with it. It's not a study class for that, but if they take that class and they follow along, it should help them if they want to continue on and get that certification. Similar thing with OSCP. They're starting to work on developing a penetration testing class, and I'm trying to encourage them to align it with OSCP because that seems to be a cert that a lot of these students want to get. And I've had several Arabites say, like, if you offered that as a class, like, I would take it. So the department, gets very concerned about, we want to make sure we're teaching, not training. And this is the leadership of the department is very academic based, so they're having a hard time kind of shift over and pivot over into the more applied, which is what students are wanting. It's a professional master's program. That's what it should be. Let's help get them ready for when they go out into the field. Another area for improvement, I think there needs to be more screening of applicants. Many of them are great on paper. I had, saw some of their profiles of some of these people, great GPAs, some already had previous degrees, but very little technical skills, which is kind of troubling. I had a student this past semester who already had a PhD and like 3 degrees, but could not install an operating system on a virtual machine to save their life. And also could not read the in-depth documentation that I gave of step-by-step of what to do to install Kali Linux on a VM. So I had to have that hard conversation with them of maybe this is not the right program for you. You should take some time off, get the skills, and come back when you've gotten that good base. On the student side, as we have a large international student population, it's definitely a different culture shift. The U.S. is very focused on academic dishonesty and plagiarism and very against it. Other cultures and university systems, not so much. This is a lot of text, but if you can see at the top, it's kind of formatted different, and then the bottom is a little different. This was from Student Final. So part of that, they gave me recommendations on how they would recommend securing a system. Instead, they found a blog post on how to protect yourself from malware and literally copied and pasted it, which was easy to pick up because the font was different from the rest of their paper. And at the bottom, you might be able to read it. It says, you can always read our blog or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Needless to say, I gave the student an F on the paper. They got a very, they still managed to get a D- in the class. And they had the nerve to email me saying that, hey, I only took your class to help improve my GPA, so you need to go ahead and give me an A. And I was like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. So, once I said, hey, do you want to go to Office of Student Conduct, they pretty quickly were like, you know what, I'm sorry, I'll try harder in the future. Another one is some of the professional writing skills. So which one of these is correct? The second one. I've had papers that literally had all 4 of those in the same paper. And I'm like, if you're gonna pick the wrong, at least be consistent, don't go over this. So that's one of the struggles in this program, and something I'm working on developing some primer material before the start of the semester to give students of like, read this, and I had students that try to, their feedback to me was, well, the goal of this exercise was to capture the flags, not write a good report on it. And I was like, no, the goal was to capture the flags and write a good report. Like, I'm training you for going into the workforce. If you handed, this in with all these different typos and misspellings, if I was a client, I'd say, I'm not paying you for this. This is garbage. Or I'd say, you know what? When it comes time to like who to give a promotion to or a raise to, I'm going to go for the people that give good work. Because having all these typos and inconsistencies doesn't really give you the most warm and fuzzies about their level of capability. And also, troubleshooting technical problems remains to be an issue. So this is from an actual student who, there's the damn vulnerable web app, and part of an assignment they have to install that. So they sent me a message saying, I'm getting an error, config file not found, copy the config file to this thing and configure it to your environment. And they're like, I don't know what to do. Like, the error message literally tells you what to do. Come on, people. So that's kind of a, I need to Google a guide on how to use Google effectively and hand that out to them. One last piece of something I've been trying to work through with students is help them make the connection. Students seem to want to have hands-on experience with commercial tools like Palo Alto and FireEye. And last I checked, they don't just give out licenses to that stuff freely, So I'm like, if you really want to, spin up an Amazon account, start paying for an hourly license with one of those tools and do it to your heart's content. But they don't seem to kind of get that we're using open source tools, but those open source tools are used every day all around the world. I mean, how many people on your host are running IP tables? How many people run SourceFire or Cisco IPS? They don't get that, like, a lot of, like, if you're running Cisco IPS, it's just a fancy GUI on top of Snort on the underneath. So if you understand how Snort works, how to write rules, you're going to be fine. Like those, the concepts for that stuff matter. The click this on the GUI, like that doesn't matter as much. That's something you can learn on the job. So now we get in the second part of our presentation, which is kind of talk about hiring students and working with them. So my side would be more from the operational side. Bertrand's would be more from the engineering side. So the big thing for me is trying to find students with passion. I've had students who literally hunted me down in my office and said, hey, I want to come, I want to learn about security, would love to come work for you. Those are usually the students that I will say, yeah, come on in, come back, bring me your resume, let's have an interview, and if they can answer some questions, and show promise and passion, I'll bring it in. I've had others where they'll email me, or like, oh, so-and-so knows you and says you should come in, or said, hey, you should give me a job. I'm like, well, send me a resume, come, let's talk, and they won't ever follow through, or they do, it's just kind of like, gotta show me you have passion. Like, if you just show up my door and like, hey, I want to come work for you, like, you don't have to pay me, like, I'm going to pay you, but like, that shows you have a drive, and that's interest. We've had challenges with some students where the start of the semester, we'll see them for 20 hours a week, and then, they're overachieving students, so, they're taking 5 CS classes that, all demand hours and hours of homework and project time, so as time goes on, you'll see them for 20 hours a week, and then 15 hours a week, and then 10 hours a week, and then, 3 months later, they show up again, and like, who are you? You work here? So because of that, and some kind of inconsistencies, because like, oh, I can come for an hour here, 2 hours here, oh, but I got like soccer, So we've had them focus a lot more on projects, so things to help automate on the back end, or stuff that's not as super time critical or kind of routine operations. I've had a few that were pretty good, that, they were there, they're 20 hours a week on a set schedule. Those are the ones that I focus more on doing operational stuff with. A lot of students will come in thinking like, hey, especially from our ACES program, where they were very kind of high superstars at a high school level. They weren't having to put a whole lot of effort into their education, so they had all the free time in the world. Then they get to college where the workload's a lot greater, and so they struggle a little bit. But also they come in and they think, oh, day one, I'm going to be a security engineer. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Like, come on in, let's let me do you some training, and here's playbooks on how we do a lot of our routine operations, and oh yeah, here's all these logs to read, have fun. So some of them get into it, and some realize, hey, this helps me pay my bills. Others are kind of like, yeah, I want to do the fun stuff. So again, we focus on project work, log review, kind of some level 1 IR work, and then as they show, they can be trusted in skills, then we'll start expanding out what they'll do. Working on a training program, so so for a while when Splunk was offering a lot more free training for people, or for higher ed, we would have them go through and complete that and get their Splunk certified power user cert, and then we'd start to introduce them to our playbooks to go through a lot of our Splunk dashboards and alerts and logs and start handling those incidents. My last point too is also look for someone who's hungry. One of our recent graduates, who unfortunately we didn't have a position for at the time, he was great. I mean, he was the mailman. Like, no matter like what, there could be a hurricane outside, he would still be showing up for work because him working for us was helping him pay for his rent and his school. So those people were great, and I need to find more of them. And I'm trying to find ways to attract that caliber of student.
So actually, speaking of, hiring student, I had a student in different qualities working for me. As I had interns over the summer where they were fully committed to like a schedule. They had projects, and they came in the morning at, let's say, 9 o'clock and leaving at night at 4 or 5 o'clock, and it was this kind of thing. But it's only possible during the summer or winter break, and it requires quite a bit of time actually to manage these students. At the same time, we were trying to have some kind of like a summer, program where we would do actually presentations every week to actually show them what we are doing and tell them like some of the horror stories that we had to deal with. So in my case, also supervise students doing research. I have actually also a student working for me within IT security. The thing is that they clearly don't do that for the money for some of them, except, for what you just said. Especially coming from the ACES group, they actually do have they are top students, and so they come with the university with like grants, not grants, but like scholarship. Some of them actually have like the full ride, like the full 4 years being paid and everything. So they really want to get something out of the work, so what I really try to do is when I get a student, I really try to identify what they want out of the experience, the work experience, or the internship, or whatever research project. What do they really want to do? Sometimes it's not possible. We're not looking for the same thing. In the case of IT security, you have some needs of, let's say, someone to program a web interface or do some scripting in the back end, things that I don't have the time to do because you can buy other things. Some of these projects are not necessarily related to security. Some of them are closely related to security. And it's really like trying to identify, this is a list of projects I have, and it works actually well with internship. Pick something that you like. Pick something that you would like to do. And is there anything of your interest that could actually help you either in your coursework or maybe for your resume? And then we work on that too. And I try to include that in the work so that I can actually engage the student and have them work for me and like work for us and actually get the result of that and really have like a final result, like a tool or a script or like the final product to be actually useful, beneficial for the student as well as for us. Now the mission statement of the university is to teach and do research. So trying to follow that and actually teach and also work on the research. So really making sure that they get something out of it. But I had all kinds of students. So I found I used this graph actually to present where you have your perfect students. where they provide top quality work. Like, no one else can do better than that because they would use, like, let's say for programming project, they would use the nice programming language like Python with the nice libraries. They would do a perfect job, etc. They would do that in a timely manner. The students would be available pretty much not anytime, but like they would be on site often. You can actually give them a task, etc., to do an ad hoc task, and that's perfect. Then you can be reliable as well, where basically you give something, you you tell them, well, if you could do that within the next few days, that would be great. So that's when they're actually reliable and actually get the final product within a few days. It's awesome. There's also that in execution time and also independence, because if you have someone asking you questions every 2 minutes, it's like, well, I'm better off doing it myself. Because if you interrupt me every 2 seconds for like easy questions that you can find an answer on Google, I mean, there's teaching, but sometimes like solving an error, Google can do a better job than me. So, yeah, the students, of course you have to lower a little bit your expectations because, well, they have other commitment in life. They have their studies, of course. That's why they are at the university. And also, we're not paying them as top quality programmers. So expectations are lower. But that would be the ideal case. And I had only very few students like this. I can actually count them on my hand, like 3 or 4. So it's not often that it happens, unfortunately. I had some students that are a little bit overzealous. So they are a little bit over the top. They want to do great things. They want to do a lot of things. They work on various projects. And actually, that's the case with ACES students. They want to do research. They would want to help you as well. And they have an agenda, some kind like having a crazy resume at the end of the 4 years. The problem I have with that is that sometimes to complete a task, it would take forever. The other thing is that they will be independent, but they will be so independent that they will come up with a different final product, a different result that you are expecting. Like, it's going to do something like completely crazy. And that happened to me actually like 2 weeks ago. Like, why have you done that? But what is it for? What I'm going to do with that? Like, can you remove that now? So you see the time that is being wasted by doing that. I wish he had actually asked the question, hey, do you think it would be useful for you to do that and to have this feature, etc., in your program? And it would have been, well, I do think that it should be a totally different program and we should not merge that together. Really want to keep it simple. In the end, I got something very complicated. And I'm like, what am I going to do with that? So yeah. And then the last profile is that I would call that the tourist, is that this student is in your payroll. You sign a timesheet, but it's totally independent. You don't hear from him or her at all. And yeah, so it just like disappear. Sometimes you send email to say, hey, what's up? You don't get, sometimes you get an answer, sometimes you don't get an answer. And until the very final email, it's, hey, so I have you on the payroll, but I'm tired of signing your empty timesheet. What's going on? And no news. Like, okay, so I think he's not coming back. So yeah.
So at least on the operations side, our plan moving forward, as mentioned, some of the undergrad ACES students haven't quite worked out as well. They focus, how dare they focus on their classes and getting good grades instead of, helping me with the IT security needs. So we're going to move over to a lot of the grad students from the program I'm in. And a lot of that's because the program I teach in, the classes are all from 4 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at night. so they're free during the day. So that helps out with a bit more consistency, so we can hopefully kind of get more kind of tier 1, tier 2 SOC operations handled by students to free up my few SOC analysts to focus on more important things. And we have a good pipeline of students coming in from there. So real quick, I know we're running short on time. Just a little bit about our experiences. So both of us started out as students and went full-time. One of the benefits, and we try to hire students and hire from within when we can, is just that intangible knowledge of how the university operates, from the technical to the political, is really, really helpful. And also, sometimes we find out that our job duties don't really change when you go from a student intern to a full-timer. If you have competence and your bosses start giving you access to higher tiered things, just the paycheck gets a little better, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. I mean, the example, for me, I was a graduate assistant. I was with the IT security group by doing like security operation things where there was not really a security operation center. And then when I actually graduated, I moved over to basically full-time staff, and my first mission was like, oh, we got these brand new fancy Palo Altos. Knock yourself out. So I don't think you can actually, when you hire someone, I don't think you can actually do that because that would be, because of we know the environment. Already knew the environment, already knew the political aspect of security, which from a previous talk, we heard that it's 90% of the job and 10% technical, and I completely agree. So it was just easy to be, well, there you go. You know what you got to do.
So I think we're close to time. Are there any questions, comments, death threat, Bitcoins that you want to send us? You want to go first?
So on the ASUS side, most of the technical or not necessarily technical classes are offered by actually are instructed by corporate and by like professional instructors, like coming from the corporate world. So definitely they are more probably hands-on. I'm pretty sure the same. They call that seminar, but I'm pretty sure the courses look like very much like Kevin's class, where it's hands-on on tools and really what is being done in the industry. So it's, yeah. So it's very current.
Yeah, and then over on the grad school side, my class, we get into that a little bit. We'll talk about certain things like when we talk about log retention and log review and how that's done. We'll talk about some of the reasons about why that's done and regulatory compliance. Some of the other classes that focus a bit more into those areas go further into that. Because again, my class is more the hands-on. Here's how to actually run the tools and use them. What are the local technical colleges in there? That's a great question. I don't know a ton, because I've done a little bit of looking at what they're doing. A lot of the community colleges in the area do have cybersecurity programs. We do have our sister school, UMUC, which has a large online population, large population for masters and undergrad. Their stuff, I've been told, is a little more dated and kind of focusing on like certified ethical hacker and like some of the concepts, but stuff's a little more dated. So we've had some students who have transferred over, and I guess they do like that we're a bit more hands-on with more up-to-date material. But yeah, we do have a lot of competitors in there, but I haven't done a real thorough evaluation of what they're offering.